Is unfinished business. We have Rick McDowell with the Green Wastewater Program. And Ryan Jefferson with the Green.
We will probably never be finished. Not sure. Sounds ominous.
Hi, guys.
We want to give you an update on stuff. The first sheet just sort of has some chronological things that have been going on. The second page there is an authorizing resolution, and I've talked to President Vance about this. The DEP has all sorts of things that we need to submit to them, you know, with signatures on it. And originally, the president of the county commission signed off on all these things. They are willing to let me be the person to sign off. Now, this is not, all this is stuff like requesting a budget change or an order to add some more money to something. It's not to change the amount we get or anything like that. So we've got before you an authorizing resolution to let me do the signature.
And in a lot of places, that's who does this, isn't it?
That's right, that's right. And other projects, the person is the project director signing, so.
Well, it made a little bit more sense to me since he's the one spending the money, and he's the one who knows what's where to spend things like that. But did you have any thoughts on it?
That's fine with me.
Do we have a motion to go ahead and adopt this resolution authorizing Mr. Dow to do the signing for this thing?
I move.
Second.
Is that an all yes?
Yes.
Thank you. And eventually we'll need the seal on this and a copy of the minutes when that's ready. Just go ahead and send it in. Thank you. The next thing you've got, we've been taking tributary samples since 2005, a lot of samples. And we talked about how to present it so that it would make a little more sense, because there's so many numbers. I mean, they go on and on and on and on. So what we've done on that page, these are the sites, the major sites where we're doing sampling now. At one point we had over 50 sites, but we've narrowed them down. And the first column there on the left names the site, tells you what tributary it's on. The second one tells you the number of samples that we've taken between 2005 and this January 2013, and then we've divided it into two groups. One, the percentage of acceptable results from 2005 to 2010, and the last column, the amount of percentage of acceptable results from 2011 to 2013. So you can see that almost in every single case, the percentage that we had from 5 to 10 and the percentage we had from 11 to 13 has gone up, which we think you could interpret as the creeks are cleaner. Progress. So you've got that. We have shared that with all sorts of our collaborators. And you've also got, on the second page, you've got a breakdown that shows a whole lot more numbers. I think the thing about, if you looked at that first page and you went three up from the bottom, Dogbone. Dogbone is a place where we haven't had lots of improvement, but we've had some improvement. We went from no acceptable numbers to 8%. The other thing I think to consider is the fact that we're looking at 200 E. coli colonies per 100 milliliters. That's the acceptable limit. So if you look on the second page at Dogbone, you'd see that, you know, they had times when they had 750, 230, 500, 860, 800, 400, which are above the acceptable limit, but are certainly better than when we started, when Dogbone was having 200,000, 40,000, 100,000. So even though it's not within the range we're looking for, it's still gotten a lot better. So we'll continue sharing that stuff with you. We've had some good comments back from people that we sent it to. right thing.
On
Yes,
Dog
sir.
Run, what percentage of the people, households are in your program?
If we talk about up to the Y, where the road actually forks, which is, what would you say, a little more than a mile?
And a
probably
mile,
fork.
yeah, close to a
There
mile.
are everybody but 4,
Yeah.
I would say. So 4 out of maybe 12, 15 on Dog Run. So, quite a few people.
I was wondering, Rick, when you first started keeping records of this, did you keep a record of who had an operational system? And, I mean, because that's one of the criteria you had in doing that. I mean,
Everybody who signed up, you know, we didn't check everybody. We only worked with the people who signed up. Everybody who signed up ended up with a failing system.
okay.
So, and the criteria for failing was either that the system was so old that you knew that, you know, it was put in the 60s, so it didn't meet code. Or when we did a dye test, we could actually see dye coming out in the creek when they were dark. So we don't have any kind of database of people who haven't signed up, whether their systems are good systems.
But you know, the systems were just kind of direct discharging at the time and
Right,
stuff, so.
right. When we first started, Francis Holton, who was the sanitarian, that said that, I think he had like 15 or 16 applications in the left fork area where people had come and asked to get an application put in the system. So that meant that everybody else wasn't an approved system. The next page, the one with the money, we get our money from the DEP. We requisition to them. They pay us. This is the most recent requisition. This time we were asking for $164,000. So if you look on the far right-hand column, we've got out of the $759,000 in the project, we have remaining unspent $217,000. So we're spending down. We started the project at the end of May. It's a year project. We should be finished until, if we can resolve the very last page. And Brian and I have talked about this, and we'd like some guidance from the commission. It's a little complicated. On contract 1, which are direct discharge systems, we had 12 homes. Between the time that we started and last fall, 2 of those original installations that we were going to do, people had abandoned the homes. So the feeling was that we should not put systems in there since nobody was going to live there. And if you look on that page, the originals were going to be at a home that Carol Workman owned, and then 2 homes that we were putting one system in for the 2 homes where Abby Lovejoy and Norma Atkins lived. There was nobody living in those homes. So we talked to the DEP. They said it was fine to substitute some people in. So through the process of, you know, deciding which ones, who signed up when, how many meetings they came to, we were going to replace Carol Workman with Barbara McClure's. We were going to replace the Lovejoy and Atkins homes with Danny Collins. When we originally went through the process of doing the bids, Wiseman gave us a total bid for the project, but they also gave us individual bids for the homes. So Carol Workman's home was $30,000, and Abby and Norma's combined home was $34,000. The McClure home and the Collins home were both homes that needed less done to them than those original 2. The difference between the Workman home and the McClure home was that they didn't have to do an electric upgrade on that home. So as we talked this through with Wiseman and they looked at stuff, they want the same amount of money to do the McClure home as they originally were going to get to do the Workman home. We've gone through 2 sessions with them where we've asked for proposals. Twice, both times they've left it at $30,000. Our feeling is that that's a little too much. Okay, let me go on and explain the next one, and then I'll show you the stuff at the bottom. The other one for Abby and Norma's, those were two houses, a total of 4 bedrooms. Both houses had to have plumbing. There were 3 tanks instead of two tanks. Danny Collins, on the other hand, was one house, only had 3 bedrooms. There was no need for any plumbing. There was no need for any electrical upgrades, and there were only 2 tanks. The first time Wiseman sent us a proposal, it was for $31,000. The second time when we said, oh, it's way too high, they dropped it down to $29,400. So they went down a little bit. You look at the bottom, there are 4 homes that are in the project currently that Wiseman bid on with those prices. So Mark Walls and Stephen Phillips were both homes that were 3-bedroom homes. They didn't need plumbing, they didn't need electric. One of them was bid at $24,000, the other was bid at $23,000. Okay. Those are, we feel they're similar to the Collins home, where Wiseman's asking for $29,000. The other 2 that are there are a home at Timmy Hager and a home at Beverly Atkins, both of which needed plumbing upgrade. One was for $26,000, one was for $27,000. Wiseman is asking at Bar McClure's $30,000 for that. So we feel like it's a little too much. And the DEP has said to us that if we, meaning all of us, feel like it's too much, we can just say to Wiseman, hey, there's nobody living in those homes, we're not going to do them unless we can reach an agreement. So we thought it would be good to see how the commission felt, whether you all think we should push them a little harder to reduce the price, or whether we just ought to say, sure, we'll do it for what you want.
What do you recommend?
I think we should be good stewards of the money that we've got, and that we're to go back to Wiseman if the commission feels it's okay to say the commission feels that it's still too much money. We've looked at these comparable homes, and we feel that the price should be closer to those.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Say the scope has changed, correct?
Yes.
And if the scope's changed, then can you not rebid the process? I mean, rebid these 2 places to get another quote from someone else?
It's a good question. The problem is that we have a contract specifically with Wiseman for contract 1 of this project, which is 12 homes. Now, the DEP says we can, because there's nobody living in 2 of the 12 homes, we can say we're not going to do them, but we can't rebid it.
So if you push them, then they won't accept.
If we push them and they don't accept, those 2 homes would be part of phase 5. We'll just move them over. And we would move any money that was left of phase 5. That's what the DEP is telling us now.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, and we're not, this particular company hasn't really, on other things, you know what I mean?
Right.
We really haven't had so, to me, I think if you've got something that's comparable, that we know what it's gonna cost to do these other places, that it's essentially the same for those houses, and they're, what, $3,000–4,000 difference.
Mhm.
I would suggest you go ahead and ask them to drop that a little bit. What do you think?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I will just, they called today saying, what's happening with those homes? And we said, well, we got a county commission meeting. We're going to talk about it, and then we'll get back to you. So I would say we met, and the feeling was from the commission, you guys are actually the quote-unquote owners of all this stuff, at least contractually, that it's more than we feel comfortable. And my thought would be, you know, I doubt if they're going to drop all the way down to these numbers, but if they drop a couple thousand, we negotiate that and say, fine, because we would like to get those homes
We're
done.
gonna use the
Right.
light rings and all that stuff too, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
all right, thank you. I'll let you know what we're doing that.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. And Ryan's got something that he needs to have you guys help him with.